We are joined now by Secretary of the State Denise Merrill, who is very busy these days. Of course, in 9 days from now, we'll have the elections, municipal elections coming up. But also, you just came from a forum on online voting. And tell me what the participation was like there and what are the things that you're hearing?
It was quite interesting. We were asked by the legislature in a bill last year to study the possibility of online voting in Connecticut. So instead of just writing a report, I decided to do an open forum. And I invited experts from around the country and the Secretary of State of West Virginia, where they have actually tried an online voting project in one county. This concern is coming, I think, from our concern about military voters, primarily overseas, who don't really have access to ballots.
So what do they send absentee ballots now, or?
We send them basically absentee ballots. They're special absentee ballots that are streamlined and they go right in, so they're electronically transmitted, which we don't do here. But there is now an effort to say, well, can we do more than that? Can people actually vote online? So I think we had a very interesting debate. It's very controversial, and particularly the computer scientists we had there were very concerned about security and the security of the system. But people ask about it all the time because they always say, well, listen, I go to an ATM machine, I can do this with money, why not with voting?
Right. I mean, which certainly is valuable.
Right. I came away thinking there's a lot we can do online. I'm not sure the online voting is quite where we want to go yet. It's difficult.
What was the experience for West Virginia?
Well, West Virginia did it in their county. They have a very high percentage of military voters, and they liked it. They had no problem with it. They used a vendor. They used you have to have a closed system.
Right.
So they were happy with it. I don't know if they're ready to go statewide with it, but it was an interesting experiment. But as the computer scientists kept pointing out, but you don't really know when something's being hacked. And there have been sort of open experiments, if you will. In Washington, D.C., the DOD did one last year, and it was they were able to hack into it in 5 minutes.
Well, so that's not very giving me a lot of confidence.
No, exactly. So I think there's a lot to think about. And there's other things we can do, like online voter registration. We don't even do that in Connecticut.
And because of the same reasons, or?
Well, no, because if you're just registering someone, you don't have to worry about the secret identity and all that kind of thing. So we could easily go to an online statewide voter registration where you just go online, register to vote. We could use an electronic signature to make sure we check your identity, and we could register you with a local registrar. That would already be a big change from what we're doing.
I would imagine, though, that if you were to go to online voting, I mean, there must be indications that that would increase participation?
Well, that's the idea. I think Secretary Tennant, she's the secretary from West Virginia, was quite passionate on this issue because her husband is in Afghanistan as we speak. And this was really, she's very concerned about accessibility of the vote for those military voters who are in the field. And while it's fine to get them their ballot electronically, they don't have either the time or the wherewithal to get them back. So her point was there's a balance. You have to balance that right of people, and of course, of all people you want to be able to vote. It's certainly these people putting their lives on the line for you.
Right,
so she was sort of the opinion that you might want to do more just for that specific group of people to make it more accessible.
Right, interesting. Well, it's something I'm sure that you'll learn more about. But you also just completed a survey, interesting survey. Tell me about this survey that you took and some of the highlights that you found.
Yes, we just completed our first ever Civic Health Index in Connecticut. This is a national project coming from the Center for Citizenship, and it's a congressionally sponsored group that has put together a series of, I guess what I'd call them, indicators. How do you know what people are doing? Are they involved in their communities? Are they voting? I mean, obviously, we have lots of statistics about who votes and how often and all that, but we didn't really know how people are relating to each other. There's a lot of questions now with new media. Where are people talking to each other? Are they participating in their community? Are they joining things? Are they volunteering? All those sorts of things that are measures of how healthy you are.
How they communicate, why is that important?
Because it influences how they participate.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes you'll have an indicator that says, how often do you talk to your neighbor? Well, you may not talk to your neighbor, but your neighbor may be a different person in your own mind now because maybe your neighbor is somebody on Facebook.
Right.
It's people are sort of relating to each other differently, and we're trying to get a handle on what that means for citizenship.
Have you been able to, call any of that to say, and that's why this happens in Connecticut?
Well, this is the first step. I mean, this is the first time we've had the data to actually show what's going on. People have lots of guessing about what goes on out there, but this is real data. And we have some ideas about why things happen. There were some very interesting findings, some that surprised me, some that didn't.
What was surprising?
One surprising thing to me was how much people are still reading newspapers. 55% of people in Connecticut say that they read a newspaper every day. That's a much higher percentage than I thought.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's self-reported, but anyway. Another statistic that I found very surprising was the statistic on voting that had to do with how many people are eligible to vote but don't even register.
Oh.
So that's something we don't track very often.
Well, and that might be also because of accessibility or...
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we have to find out now.
Right. Okay. We are unfortunately running out of time, but just tell me where they can, if people want to find out about this Civics Health Index, where can they look?
It is on our website. I'm big on technology. SOTS, Secretary of the State.ct.gov, and all this information is up online. Very interesting report.
All right. And again, November 8th is the election.
November 8th, coming up.
To get out and vote. All right. Thank you very much, Denise.
Thank you, Barry.
Don't forget, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to ctnow.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. And please follow me on Twitter @Lori Perez. That does it for this week's edition of The Real Story. I'm Lori Perez. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again next week.